Well, good evening from Cottage Farmstead. I'm Rebecca, and my husband Nathan is inside actually doing the last little bit on a coat of mud inside the house. And since my hands weren't needed trying to reach to the 9-foot ceilings, I thought I'd take you on a quick garden tour. As I think we last left off, we had built this very tacky deer fence that you see in the background behind me. As tacky as it has been doing fantastic. We have seen deer almost every time we're out here, and not a single one has made it inside of our perimeter fence there. So we're pretty excited about that. So for the most part, our garden has just been neglected. We do water it when we're out here, and we come take a peek. We've had a couple pieces of okra come off of the garden, and I think Nathan has harvested some of the basil to sell. But let's take a closer look at everything in here. So first thing when walking to the garden, we have some zinnias here. I planted some, I think they're queen lime, and I may have had some Persian carpet varieties that I planted out here. And they're just about to bloom. Ooh, actually, we have one blooming. So look at that beauty. I may have to pick it and take it inside. And then next to that, we have our cucumbers. This variety is known as picklebush, which it sprawls, but it doesn't sprawl quite as much as a traditional plant. And let's see what we got here. Look, that one's almost ready. What else do we have in here? Oh, there's some more baby ones. Look at all those. We'll be having cucumbers before we know it. And next to the cucumbers are our okra. As you can see, they're pretty stunted. We did have our plants in small pots for a long time, but even that, they're still producing. I mean, look at that massive okra. That one might already be too woody. And this one as well. Oh, that's not too bad. We might be able to get that one, salvage that one. As you can see here, what I mean by neglected is we threw a few tomato cages over here and some T-posts, and then we never did any trellising. So the tomatoes are mostly just all over the place on the ground. We hope to have some time over the next day or two to string them up just a little bit, but we'll see. And the green beans look so happy. I see some flowers. I don't see any green beans yet, but we should be getting really close to our first harvest. This is one of our favorite things to freeze. And this particular variety is Provider, I believe. It's one of our favorites, and it freezes great. We don't even blanch it, actually. We just put it straight in a freezer bag, and it's good to go. And we've had it last like 2 years in the freezer, so it produces great and lasts a long time in the freezer. And our sunflower, we planted quite a few sunflowers, but I think the birds got to the seed. But a few of them made it, and so this one, I think this is one of our rusty colored ones, so I'm looking forward to seeing the flower when that gets taller. Across from the beans are several of our tomatillo plants, and you see they're loaded with flowers. And I don't see any fruit just yet. One thing we have noticed at the land here is we don't have nearly as many pollinators as we had at our old house or at our old urban farm plot. There's a lot less bees active out here. Granted, we should have some because the okra and the cucumbers are producing, so there's some, but it's just not as humming with life as our old gardens used to be. So next up is our purple basil. We overplanted on basil because we don't necessarily eat this much basil, but we do sell it. We use the flower sometimes in bouquets when we're selling. And then we also sell the leaves, the herb itself, to chefs and sometimes into CSA bags through Growing Green Family Farms. So it's a great addition. It's a way for us, especially in this season where we don't have a super productive garden this year, to kind of trade basil for other vegetable crops and cash to buy other vegetables. So as you can see, we have just a stray volunteer mustard plant at random growing out here. One of the fun things about using recycled perlite from a farm is that it comes with seeds already in it that just failed to germinate when they were doing microgreens. But then you put it out here, even in less than ideal conditions, and they will still sprout and grow plants. So we have a little bit of mustard, and then look at this. I believe we have some kale growing over here as well. So even we have another will volunteer over here. So we'll have plenty of extra bonus greens that we didn't anticipate having, but we will definitely enjoy them. So like I said earlier, the deer fence is still doing great. These flap so much in the wind, and we have a constant breeze up here in the hill that I think this is part of the reason why they don't hang out up here, is that this just blows around all the time. We did try this pie pan down here, but the problem with it is because we do have so much breeze, is it kept getting all tangled. So for the most part, it isn't making a whole lot of noise unless we come out and loosen it again, but it usually gets caught. We've tried it in a few different places and it just keeps getting stuck. So that hasn't been doing the trick, but I think the streamers, we might be onto something with the streamers. While these orange ones are not my favorite color hanging out around the garden, it has inspired me to maybe try using scrap fabric left over from various projects to maybe create a prettier like streamer garland to go around our future garden that's going to be out in front of our house to discourage the deer from hanging out in it. So this has definitely given us a good idea and something we'll be trying out again in the future, maybe just a less tacky color. So as you can see, the garden for the most part is thriving, even though we've mostly neglected it and we pretty much planted directly into clay soil. It just goes to show you that you don't have to have ideal conditions to grow anything. You don't even have to have the ideal amount of time in the day to manage a garden. If you're able to get it set up, for the most part, gardens just want to grow. Sure, you may have more weeds, you may have tomatoes sprawling all over the ground, but you will still get some tomatoes off of your plants. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a quick tour around our summer garden this year. I will link above to a playlist of our urban farm plot garden from last year so you can get an idea of what we were growing in years past, since this is definitely a much smaller scale than what we were doing a year ago. But this is a great start for us and is very encouraging for us to see what we can already grow, even planting straight into the clay. So we can't wait to see when we can amend the soil with a little bit more compost and organic matter to see what we can grow here. I'll also link above what we did to amend the soil here in a separate video. We talked about putting perlite and a little bit of compost that we had extra potting soil to, and some chicken manure fertilizer, just to get us up and running quickly. Well, happy growing, friends. I hope your gardens are thriving and producing great this August, and we will catch you next time.